Hey, what's up YouTube? I want to talk a little bit today. I did a video on the extremer ratio, HF1D, which is a really sweet knife. It's really big and strong. It's got a lot of handle, and the pin goes right in here, and you can lock it, which is super cool because then it can't close even if you push the liner lock to the open position. The pin really holds it in place. So it's a very stout, strong knife. The problem I've been having, or maybe the reason I disfavor it compared to some others, is just how big it is. The handle's like enormous, and then also the extrema ratio of handle to, you know, um, handle size to blade size is a little crazy. I mean, you have to do that to get all that tang in the handle, but much less cutting edge length than than some others. Like this cutting edge length compared to the Spyderco Military 3 is pretty close, but the handle on this one just goes so much farther down. So you can kind of see why I don't preference this one as much. Still a super fun knife, but one I'd recommend for maybe a newer knife collector or anyone into knives who use them is this one. This one's really great. It's again an extrema ratio. This one's the let's see, BF M1A1 right there, and this one's really cool because it's got this blade. I don't really like their steel in either of the extrema ratio knives. I think it's all kind of the same steel that they use, but it's softer, it's easier to sharpen, but it doesn't hold an edge as well. But it's a good blade shape, handy for anything. The cool thing about this is it's got a liner lock that holds in place this can opener slash prying screwdriver attachment. So if you really need to pry at something and you don't want to chip the tip off your blade, you can use this thing, and it kind of saves your blade tip, but you can still get a lot of prying out of it, and opening whatever. And it also has this little backup, or it's not backup, but on the back it's got this little marlin spike, which is originally designed to help get knots undone, and it's good for poking holes in plastic or whatever you might need for around the garden or something. The only downside to this knife design, I kind of wish they had attached the clip to this side instead of doing this like over the top design. I guess it looks kind of cool, but the downside is your pants, if they're too thin, will ride up and then turn this corner and get like stuffed up in here, and then you can't get it out of your knife because it's kind of locks onto your pants here. So I kind of wish it was a more traditional like attachment on the same side as the actual pocket clip. But other than that, it's a real workhorse. It's not too thick, compared to, let's see, what Spyderco Paramilitary 3. It's not too much thicker, and you do get that extra functionality of this cool marlin spike and the locking pry bar. So another great knife. Now, if you're just getting into knives, I would 100% recommend Spyderco Paramilitary. This knife is awesome, kind of won't let you down. And another one that I used to have but misplaced is the Benchmade Griptilian. So those two are definitely the first two knives I would start with. This one, it's got a more pointy, like aggressive blade style, I guess for self-defense or fighting or something. But Spyderco makes these blades the leaf shape, and they're by far my favorite in terms of just doing stuff with them, regular daily tasks and just anything you'd use a knife for. These blade shapes are a little more useful. They're just, not quite as pointy. But S30V, in terms of blade steel, S30V, you can't go wrong. These two are more like designer steel. Well, they're all designer steel, but these two are a little more exotic. They've got the HAP 40 sus something, HAP 40 sus 10. Can't see. Yeah, whatever that is. HAP 40 sus 410. So, you know, they're laminated steel. It's got 3 blades essentially in one. You got you can see the line right here and the line on this side right here. And so it's sandwiched. You got 2 softer pieces of metal smashed with the harder, sharpenable, more sharpenable blade on the actual edge. So that way you have a little more forgiveness in torquing the blade. It's not just going to snap. But you also have a sharp edge. And I think some Scandinavian knives do the same sort of thing. So this is the same sandwich knife blade. And I had one of these. I think it's a Cali 3. I'm really bad with remembering these things' names. I can look them up. But this guy, if it would focus. This camera is not made for videos. It's made for photos. But this guy I had in Amagami Super Blue and a different handle, and the knife blade snapped. But Spyderco did give me some credit. That's the problem with these sprint runs, is you can't really replace them easily, even you know, on the used market. They go up in value, and obviously I use these to like cut whatever I need to, metal or you know, I don't know if I was like scraping something off this with steel wool. Might have tapped the back of it to cut it through some wood. Yeah, I definitely use my knives, and that's why I have them, because I like using good tools. This is awesome. The Spyderco Shaman. This one was a Knife Center exclusive, and I kind of regret actually getting this blade steel. It's the Rex 45 because it rusts. I just cleaned it with Flitz, which is what Spyderco recommends, but you can see like right here, this little spot I guess I didn't clean it enough when I first got it, and this spot just grew, and they had to like re-profile the blade to try and get this out, and it still, you know, didn't come all the way out, and they just said, oh well, that's Rex 45 for you, clean it with Flitz. So that's what I've been doing. So it's a beautiful knife. Rex 45 is really sharp and really capable, but it's you know, it does rust, so I'll have to wipe it off now that I've touched it. You definitely don't want to cut like fruit with it, but very sharp. Great blade design and handle design. I love how narrow the handle is, nice and slim. It does take up a lot of space this way, like the width or whatever dimension that's called. But it's yeah, it's a pretty sweet knife. So if you're just getting into knives, I definitely would recommend getting a Shaman, a Para 3, a Benchmade Griptilian. And I guess the Benchmade, they have some other new knives that I haven't really checked out. Like the, I'm supposed to get the Bug Out with aluminum handles and M390. I guess that got pushed back to September. Here's another little knife. I'm just kind of going through all my knives since I don't have an overview video on this channel. It's a nice little Damascus Spyderco. I again prefer the leaf shape to whatever shape of blade this is. This just is a really good blade shape design. In terms of when you actually go to use it for everyday tasks, opening boxes, cutting paper, doing whatever, this blade shape works really well. Spyderco's Damascus though is very sharp. It's really good as well. So this one's like my little gentleman's knife. Doesn't have a clip. I just drop it in my pocket, and it's super low profile. This one I actually use the clip, but try not to use it for too much work because it is hard to replace, and I've already torn it up. That's what this guy is for, the sort of workhorse mule of my collection here. Other good knives to pick up are like this one, an Opinel. You really can't go wrong. You know, French made, they're like 20 bucks. Probably they might have gone up. This one's the shiny, like stainless, so hasn't rusted, which is great. It's got this cool circular collar that locks into place so it can't close on your hand. But the blade is super thin, so I wouldn't use it for any like heavy duty knife tasks. It's just a very thin piece of metal, but for a picnic or whatever, that's super nice. Going camping, this is a good one. I've also probably since that last video added this is a Microtech out the front. can't remember what it is, the Ultratech. This thing's pretty sweet. They use good steel. The only problem with it, because it has to fit in this handle, and this is a super, low profile, easy thing to carry in your pocket. The only problem is because where the blade resides is so narrow, that it is a lot more of a steep bevel, so you can kind of see the back end of the blade is pretty thick, and then it kind of tapers down, so you don't have, compared to like this guy, you don't have a nice long slope going towards that blade edge. It's more abrupt, so it's not as good of a like slicer, but it's definitely a sweet little knife here. And this just never gets old, just playing with that. Pretty sweet. And then here's some knives I've been making. So this is where I get my steel. Definitely great. Jan Supply. Great place to get some knife steel. You can also use, I guess, a Texas knife. And I got these two hardened at Texas Knife. This one I got hardened from a buddy, and he kind of messed it up. It's like curved, and I didn't know how to straighten it, so I had to accommodate the curve of the blade from the hardening process in the handle, and then I also didn't get the handle very tight. I got gold leaf on places I didn't want. I tried to do this cool inlay. I don't really like how it turned out, but it was just an experiment. And this is 154 cm hollow grind, so I didn't do perfect job on this either. It's just kind of an experiment, novelty. Maybe one day I'll sell it. Who cares? And here's a little boot knife that I made based on the Spyderco boot knife. This is S30V, so it's super steel, great steel, some of my favorite steel, and it's just kind of a cool little knife. This one I made for camping, and I cannot wait to use it. This thing is awesome. It's really big, very thick back, thick blade stock for sure. You can see here. Focus. There we go. Yeah, very thick blade stock. The ebony handle again. So really great weight, great sharpness. I did a decent job on this. I got some, apprentice marks on the belt sander. But other than that, it's a really nice feel, nice knife. Turned out pretty well. Need to redo the sheath, obviously. Could have drilled some holes and tightened, sewn that together. And then I again want to say, don't over sharpen. So both of these I have over sharpened. To where it's like changed the blade shape and change the edge. I tried to make it more aggressive, I guess, when I first got it, but it just ends up curling over. So I'll tell you some YouTube channels to watch if you want to get good at sharpening are these. Cedric and Ada Gear and Outdoors. Great knife reviews, funny guy, great sharpening. ZNA Productions, he does some sharpening, but he shows a lot of like how to do leather working and how to do some knife making, from scratch kind of stuff. And he's really funny. I like his videos. I like all these guys. Outdoor S55 is another good YouTube channel. He goes into great depth about sharpening and also makes really cool looking knives that are super sharp. So check his out. These guys are great for learning how to sharpen. And then Kyle Royer knives are also super great, super fun to watch. He does like high-end, art, high-end art that kind of makes this look like a arts and crafts, example. This like pales in comparison to his kind of super high-end, 24 karat gold inlay, Damascus, blued stuff, but I just started, So yeah, there's the video. Oh yeah, some more that I'm making over here. I just got these cut out the other week, and you can see I just kind of drew a design of something I wanted, and then drew it onto the steel, and then cut it out with an angle grinder. And something that I've learned, a little tip in case you guys are, inspired to make your own knives. Definitely make the cutout wider, make it bigger than the actual design you want, and then you can, as you're sharpening it, as you're profiling the blade, if you mess up, you can always take a little material off to kind of bring it back, and it gives you a lot more wiggle room. Whereas if you try to cut out the design exactly, sort of like what happened on this knife, you can see the handle isn't symmetrical here. The handle isn't symmetrical because I was using an angle grinder and trying to cut out the exact shape of this handle that I wanted, and what do you know, it went too deep right here, and then it messed up the whole symmetry of this thing. So yeah, this is kind of a failed experiment, but it's still kind of a neat little, sword type novelty. So yeah, that's the collection. I'd love to hear sharpening. So this is that good DMT diamond sharpening. These are awesome, really great way to sharpen. I've got like the 3-part system. I've got the blue, the red. Oh, there's the black. I generally use the blue and the red. Black is extra coarse. And then, so I've got a couple of these. And then I use the super fine, extra fine here to finish her off. And then the strap. So I made this strap. I had some glue that was good for leather, and I glued this strip of leather onto this 2x4, and then you can rub on some buffing compound, strap it. But definitely check out Outdoor S88 for a lot of that sharpening knowledge. He's really good about that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys should leave in the comments if you want to see an in-depth review about any of these, but that's pretty much it. Have a good one.